Test one, two, test one, two, test one, two, test one, two. Good evening, New York City and beyond. I hope you are staying warm. We're going to hold for 30 seconds and we're going in on tonight's profile for our Black History Month profiles. Test one, two, test one, two, test one, two, test one, two. Good evening. I am Juanqui and welcome to my world. Ladies and gentlemen, it's getting ready to be so cold in New York City, so nasty and so rude. Shovelface, our governor, was up there in the podium talking about it's going to feel like -40, maybe even -50. Drop a bomb on that. I don't even comprehend what that could feel like. Okay? So it's supposed to start creeping down starting this evening. So I hope everybody's staying warm. I hope you are staying safe. Please check on your elderly people. You know, if you know there's an elderly person that has a home that requires, heating oil and all that, make sure that they got their tanks full, or that they have their electric heaters on and all of that. The worst thing we can do is put pots of water on the stove, or use the stove to heat up, or the oven. That's a no-no. That's a no-no. But please check up on your neighbors, make sure, and your elderly people, make sure that they are okay. All right? Hopefully we will get through this soon. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just move this here because it's irritating me. It's not centered. I like it to be centered. Ladies and gentlemen, today is the 6th day of February. I'm not coming through with a human profile today. I'm coming through with a location, a place. Okay, a place. Now, let me give you a little bit of tea on Juanqui Pro. Back many moons ago, before I was married, before my husband rescued me, took me off the pole and gave me a ring, I did my stint in Harlem. I lived in Harlem. I really felt like I had made it once I got to Harlem. I was living in this gated community. Right there in Lenox, the middle of Lenox and 140 something and 145, right there in the middle. I didn't even, it was always blending in the background until it was time for me to move in. And I was like, oh, wow, and it was a gated community with a guard at the door and the whole nine. Very clean community. Anyway, I had gotten a promotion at a job, and I really felt like it was like Sex in the City, the male version. I was doing my thing. I was performing. I had a 401k. I had investments. I was really doing it. Yes. Now, every morning when I would leave my home to go downtown to, deal and meddle in the back alleys of Wall Street, I used to walk by. Come out of my gate, my gated community, come out of my gate, and then I will walk to the train station, right? And there will be these tourists, and there was always somebody with a headset, and he was talking to them, and the tourists would be taking pictures, and they all had like headsets, so I don't know if it was being translated in their language or whatever. And there would be, I wasn't paying too much attention. I was just walking real fast to get to where I needed to get to, right? Eventually, on my way coming back home, I said, let me stop here and see what it is, because they're always stopping at this. It's like a stone that was there, right? At this stone, and they're talking. It's clearly a tour. I'm like, they're giving tours outside of my gate. Drop a bomb on that. Imagine that. You stepping out to go to work or coming home, and they giving a tour of your of your home, of like your living quarters and shit. So I decided to stop, and I grabbed that. It said Savoy, and I'm like, oh shit, this was the Savoy. This was the Savoy. So yeah, I lived in the Savoy for a period of time. Drop a bomb on that. So much history, unbeknownst to me, not even aware. I mean, I knew when I was moving into the community and I did my application the whole night moving into the apartment, that it was called the Savoy, but it didn't hit me that it was the Savoy. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Savoy Ballroom, once the heartbeat of Harlem, was a world famous dance hall that operated from 1926 to 1958, known as the home of Happy Feet. It was the cornerstone. It was the cornerstone of the Harlem Renaissance and a pioneer of racial integration in the United States. While the original building was demolished in 1959, its legacy is commemorated today by a historic plaque in Harlem. Drop a bomb on that. And that is that plaque that you see. That's right outside my gate. Okay? Right outside my gate. Let's talk a little bit about the historical significance of the Savoy. Racial integration. Unlike contemporary venues like the Cotton Club, which is also a few avenues down and a few blocks down in the same area in Harlem, the Savoy was one of the first racially integrated public spaces in the country, welcoming both black and white patrons based on their love for dance rather than skin color. Birth of swing. It was the epicenter of the development of swing era dances, most notably the Lindy Hop. Other dances like the Flying Charleston, the Jive, and the Big Apple also gained popularity here. Jazz legends. The ballroom featured twin bandstands for continuous music and hosted iconic performers including Ella Fitzgerald, Chick Webb, Count Basie, and Benny Goodman. Battle of the Bands. It was famous for high-stakes musical showdowns, such as the legendary 1937 battle between Chick Webb and Benny Goodman. Visiting today. The original structure was demolished to make way for the Delano Village, now Bethune Towers, which when I lived there, none of my buildings were called that. We would just call the Savoy. Housing complex. However, you can still visit the commemorative marker, which is this plaque right here. Savoy Ballroom commemorative plaque, located west side of Lenox Avenue, Malcolm X Boulevard, between West 140th and 141st Street. Yeah, literally right outside my window. And then it tells you how to get there the whole night. This year marks the 100th anniversary of the Savoy. There's an event planned for March 2026. This year, I might pop my head into my old stomping grounds. They are going to be hosting, various organizations are planning centennial celebrations, including a fundraiser and a dance weekend on March 21st, 2026, to honor the ballroom. Opening 100 years ago. Virtual, and then I talk about another project. Okay, so let me see. There's another article that I pulled up. Let me just see here, so that that covers a little bit more about the Savoy. Here we go. Okay, this is a different article. Let's see how they tell it. The Savoy Ballroom was a large ballroom for music and public dancing located at 596 Lenox Avenue between 140th Street and 141st Street in the Harlem neighborhood of Manhattan, New York. Lenox Avenue was the main thoroughfare through Upper Harlem. Poet Langston Hughes called it the heartbeat of Harlem in the Jukebox Love Song, and he set his work Lenox Avenue Midnight on the legendary street. The Savoy was one of many Harlem hotspots along Lenox. I would say that one of the things that I enjoyed when I lived in Savoy, when I lived in the Savoy up there in Harlem, was literally just a couple of blocks. You currently you have so many historical places that I'm appreciating them now, because when I was there, I didn't even know, like the Apollo theaters, and I knew what the Apollo theater, the significance of the Apollo. Fun fact: I performed on the Apollo several times. Drop a bomb on that. I'm sure there's a VHS or three with the performances somewhere in my trunk. But no, it wasn't for Showtime. It was for specific events. But so you have Melba's Kitchen. You have just so many historical places, you know. But when I was there, I wasn't like aware of it. Like I gained some more respect and some more appreciation, unfortunately, when I left. And when I mean I left, I went from 145th. I went further downtown to 110, right across the street from Central Park. So I really felt like I had arrived at that point. Yes, baby. When you can say that Central Park is your backyard, baby. When you can say, ooh, Central Park is my backyard, and I can take a stroll in the park every single afternoon in the summer, go by the lake, see the ducks, or go ice skating in the ice skating rink, the one that's on this side, not on 59th Street. Whew, those were the days, man. Those were the days. Let's see, what else do we have here? The Savoy was modeled after the downtown venue Roseland Ballroom, which I've also been at the Roseland Ballroom. That one is closer to where the theaters are. The Roseland was mostly European American swing dance club, with swing's rise to popularity and Harlem becoming a connected black community. The Savoy gave the rising talented and passionate black dancers an equally beautiful venue. The ballroom, which was 10,000 square feet in size, was on the second floor and a block long. It could hold up to 4,000 people, ladies and gentlemen, 4,000 people during that time. The interior was painted pink and the walls were mirrored. Colored lights danced on the sprung layered wood floor. In 1926, the Savoy contained a spacious lobby framing a huge cut glass chandelier and marble staircase. Leon James is quoted in Jazz Dance as saying, "My first impression was that I had stepped into another world. I had been to other ballrooms, but this was different. Much bigger, much glamour, real class." Drop a bomb on that. Because black people make everything better. Absolutely. So when I lived in the Savoy, like I said, being able to just go a couple of blocks and you had so many different places to eat, or holes in the wall where you could just grab a nice drink, chill place. And let me tell you, I wouldn't necessarily say Lenox, because Lenox is a little rough. But if you go a couple of avenues up, a couple of blocks down, there were these bars that I used to go, happy hour, grab a drink on my way home or whatever, where it was so chill. People were so cool, so chill. You could go in there, let's say you got there at 10, at like 1 a.m., they'll close the door, but they'll let you stay in. They'll close the door and close the shades, but the party's still going on inside. You know what I'm saying? Like they still serve. If you leave, you can't come back in. But it was that exclusivity that just felt so amazing and made me feel like I had really, really was living the life after, working through, graduating, doing what I had to do and securing that job downtown, and then be able to come uptown. And there was a sense of pride to be able to say that you are from Harlem and you live in Harlem. It wasn't until I left Harlem that I realized that some people actually greatly look down upon Harlem, because when I was there, first of all, I lived everywhere in New York City except Staten Island. I've been in every borough. I've been in good areas. I've been in bad areas. I've been in, all over the whole gamma. Projects, private homes, luxury buildings, buildings, fine buildings, no scale buildings, walk-ups, elevators, all of that. I've done the whole gamut of things. But I didn't really realize that people had this, like, kind of like this looking down, low brow on Harlem. When I was there, I never felt unsafe. Drop a bomb on that. Never did I feel unsafe. I will be most comfortable coming out of the train station at 125th Street, either the A, the C, or the two trains, at 125th Street, and just strolling and walking and window shopping as I walk from 125th to 145th to my home. That was a great exercise, great to people watch. I guess when you're from the neighborhood, you know how to carry yourself in the neighborhood so people don't mess with you. But I never really saw anybody being messed with that was not from the neighborhood. As a matter of fact, on the years close to me leaving, I started seeing the white woman pushing a stroller. Drop a bomb on that. Okay. A white woman pushing a stroller. We knew Harlem was becoming something else when they gave us a Trader Joe's, they gave us a Whole Foods. The Starbucks had been there already. But when Trader Joe's came to 125th Street, and when Whole Foods, and I'm not talking about a hole in the wall Whole Foods, this Whole Foods is like 5 stories, including a basement, okay? The sad thing about that was that, big names came in, and so the mom and dad shop had to close. Mysteriously, a whole block burned down a few years ago. Okay. Interesting enough, it was a block where a developer was trying to get people kicked out of. And it was like, because down there, the blocks are really, really long. They're along an avenue. So it hosted like a whole bunch of like stores, like family businesses. You could get there was a fish market. There was like where you could get shoes. There was where you could get your prescription glasses. There was a pharmacy. There was all of that, a laundry place, all of that within like one block. That whole block burnt down. And they have been fighting with the developer, And interesting enough, surprising enough, it caught fire. And guess what? Now, if you go back down there, it's a luxury building. Drop a bomb on that. And that's what happened with the Savoy Ballroom. I read here that it had been demolished. The area had been rebuilt several times, at least 3 or 4 times. And to the latest incarnation, which is they call it luxury buildings. I don't think they're luxury buildings, but they are behind a gated community. I would say it's more like sophisticated living rather than luxury. I don't think it's luxury. I just think it's sophisticated and behind a gate with security and, certain amenities. But that's what stands there. And that's not uncommon for you to see the mom and dad shop disappear because some developer was able to offer them a check and is taking 3 stores and turning them into a quote unquote luxury building. And so real Harlemians, is that what we call them? People who, generations were raised in Harlem are being pushed out of Harlem. Harlem has pushed a little bit more into Washington Heights. Washington Heights has pushed a little bit more into the South Bronx. And so now you see, towards the time that I was leaving, and I haven't been in Savoy in a long periodical of time, but towards the time where I was leaving, I started seeing more and more of the white women pushing strollers with, little Johnny in the thing, or the Nana was coming to, taking out the white children in the strollers. Okay. I was seeing a lot more and more of that. And it was like, oh, wow, these things are popping up around here. And I see the community slowly disappearing. I ended up moving further downtown, like I said, to 110th Street. And then eventually I met an Incredible Hulk. Yes. But in conclusion, little did I know that I was, in this building that I thought was it's so great. It's a gated community. It's close to the train. I feel safe in the area. There's lots of places to eat. I can get my food delivered through Fresh Direct if I wanted to, or I could just go right next door. There's a market. where I could get everything I need, the plantains, the salad, everything I need right there. It's a lot of culture. You could get a haircut. You get all of that within like 2 blocks. Within 2 blocks, you got everything you need within 2 blocks. I remember when I voted, and last time I was there, it was the first time Barack Obama, the first time, right? I believe. I literally, my voting place was right across the street. Like literally, I just went across the street to some gym, some school that was across the street and voted there. Like it was like everything was accessible. If I wanted to have some drinks downtown or stay out, all I needed to do was just jump on a yellow cab. And within literally 12 minutes, I would be home. From a bar downtown to home, 12 minutes, 12, 15 minutes, I was home, okay? I was feeling myself. I had long hair. I was thin. I was making money, and I was in this building. And it just happened to be that every time I come out, this building has a bunch of tourists, and some guide is talking to them in front of this rock. So eventually, I stopped my New York minute walk because, us New Yorkers, we walk and fast forward all the time. And I said, let me stop here and see what this rock says. And it says Savoy. And I was like, oh, Savoy. That's Savoy. And then I got on my machine, my Googles and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, this is that Savoy. I'm literally living in the grounds of history. And then back then I did research. That these articles didn't cover. This articles is more talking about the ballroom, but it was not just the ballroom. There was also a community attached to the ballroom where there would be these saloons or salons where artists would go in there, black artists, and they would play jazz. They would do theater. They would sing. They would do all of this. It was like a gathering spot for black people during that time where they were safe. Nobody was going in there to F with them, and it was some of the biggest jazz artists had like apartments in that little community that they had that was attached to the ballroom. I'm surprised these articles are not talking about that, because when I did my research back then, that's what attracted me to it the most, because I was like, look, I'm in theater, I'm doing my arts, I'm performing in shows, and I'm in the grounds where all this talent lived, decades before me. So just a fun fact. I wanted to bring something different today. So I said, let's do a place. The Savoy. Even though I landed there decades and decades and decades later, it will always hold a special place in my heart, because I felt like there was so much culture and so much creativity in those grounds. And it was like my first time where I felt like I really had made it. I was done with school. I was making good money. I was doing my thing. I was living the life. Yes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we do this every night. I will be back tomorrow for our 7th profile. Okay. I will be doing a live tomorrow, so you will see me in the flesh. Naris21, thank you for being here and always supporting. Miss Viewers of You, thank you for sharing the video, because I know you're going to share it. My Incredible Hulk, thank you for always supporting me. And everybody who comes through, please hit the thumbs, share, catch the other ones. We will be doing this the entire month of February, celebrating Black excellence. All right. It doesn't matter whether or not the powers that be at that house want to acknowledge Black history or not. We will continue to carry our history. We will continue to educate the little people coming behind us, like my little niece. Okay? And we will continue to do the damn thing, because if there's something I know about Black people, is that we are resilient. And we will continue to survive. I will see you guys tomorrow, New Yorkers or East Coast dwellers. Please bundle up. It ain't no fucking joke. It's cold outside. Okay? This is dangerous temperatures. I will see you guys tomorrow. Be safe. Peace.